Let's talk now about a wide receiver who got the ball early and got the ball often in the Indianapolis Colts. Big time loss in Pittsburgh. Danny Dimes turned the ball over 5 times, but he made his pecking order known. He wanted Alec Pierce to get the ball. Now, Pierce, 26% owned, coming off a 13-target game, 100-plus yards. Gosh, you want Alec Pierce, or do you want his deep ball doppelganger, 29% owned, Packers wideout Christian Watson?
Man, this is a tough one. I honestly like them both, especially with Kraft going down for the Packers. I think that kind of opens up the field a little bit more, even though it's complete opposite usage. Kraft's obviously way more of a yak guy versus Watson. But I'm going to stick with Alec Pierce, actually, if I'm going to think about it, just because Pierce is healthier. And he's kind of he's been developing this role all year long, it seems like, with Daniel Jones. So I don't think this is a role that's going away versus last year where you saw him flash, but it was so inconsistent that you really couldn't get behind it. Now I think we're starting to see some proof in the pudding. Like he's putting together multiple good weeks. And it seems like him and Pittman are pulling away as Danny Dimes' 2 favorite receivers. So in this case, I'll go with Alec Pierce. Sorry.
This is basically the Pam Beasley. They're the same picture. GIF. Two guys who have average target distances 20+ yards downfield. Two guys who are very boom bust. Although Pierce has been much less of a bust guy this year. 10+ fantasy points in more than in half his games thus far. And even when he only has 2 catches, he's targeted so far downfield. It'd be like a 2 catches, 57 yards. You can live with 7.7 points. You won't be thrilled about it, but you can get by with it. Whereas Watson's a guy who can tend to disappear a little bit more. Now, what we have seen from the Packers is that Jordan Love does love dialing him up deep. We saw 2 huge completions in his first 2 weeks back. And like you mentioned before, Tucker Kraft is out. Jaden Reed is still dealing with that broken collarbone. So the opportunities are going to be there for Christian Watson. This one is an absolute coin flip for me. I think if you want stability, you go Pierce. But if you want the higher upside, Christian Watson is going to give it to you, especially if the Packers finally figure out how to get their offense rolling for 4 straight quarters. Next man up, 35%, not quite the Giants wide receiver one. That's Wan'Dale Robinson, but a sturdy number 2, 6 targets per game in his last 3 games. Darius Slayton. Yash, Alec Pierce, or Darius Slayton?
I think I'm going to stick with Pierce. That might be a mistake, but the thing with I love the 6 targets per game that Slayton's getting, but it's 6 targets from a very inconsistent quarterback in Jackson Dart. And he doesn't really seem to have too much of a preference where he's throwing the ball. He just needs to get rid of the ball. So unlike Pierce, who once again, like we said before, Jones seems to kind of lock on him at times. So in this case, I'm just going to go with just opportunity moving forward, and I do think that rapport between Danny Dimes and Alec Pierce is going to be the difference maker for me in this debate, at least.
I'm going to flip it because I do think that there is a building rapport between Jackson Dart and Darius Slayton, and because look at the state of these 2 teams. The Colts are probably going to be winning games in the second half, and the Giants are in the opposite direction. So Dart is going to be throwing a lot more, I think, down the stretch. I think he's going to be throwing a lot more desperately, and he does have a very clear pecking order. It's Robinson at the top there, 11 targets in week 9. But Slayton's slowly growing on him, and he's being seen as that reliable veteran presence that he needs. I don't know if that's sustainable, but I do think the ceiling there is higher than Alec Pierce's. And I do think the floor might be a little bit higher as well, because someone's going to have to catch the ball in New York. Might as well be the guy that's been around the longest. Finally, 55% owned, guy who showed out in week 1 and has disappeared since. Buffalo Bills second-year wideout, Keon Coleman. Yash? Keon Coleman, Alec Pierce. Who you want?
I'll take Pierce here. I think Coleman. It really was just feels like a flash in the pan with him on week 1. I don't get it. I mean, his pedigree. He seems to be the type of receiver that would thrive with Josh Allen, but I don't know. It just feels like they're never on the same page. So, I mean, I would love to see him be successful. I'd love to see somebody run away with that wide receiver one job for Josh Allen, but I don't think it's Coleman.
Yeah, I understand why it's very difficult to drop a guy like Keon Coleman who has that kind of potential, but we just have not seen it lately. 112 catches in week 1, 7 games since, 172 receiving yards. And by the way, 112 catches, that was 112 receiving yards. Yeah. That would have been incredible had he done that. It would have been a record. Alas, that was not to be. You just can't trust Keon Coleman right now. There are too many other weapons in the Bills' offense. Whereas a guy like Alec Pierce, yes, he's dealing with other weapons as well, but he's getting the ball. He's way more consistent. So, yes, go with a more consistent Pierce rather than relying on the draft pedigree in one great game from Keon Coleman.
All right.